Hi, I'm Jamica Hines, and today I am going to talk to you about social media as a student response system, new evidence on learning impact. The author is Chelsea Liu. She's from the Adelaide Business School at the University of Adelaide in Adelaide, Australia. This study looks into Twitter in particular as a tool in enhancing active learning and improved feedback during large lecture type classrooms. This study used Twitter because of its user growth. From 2010 to 2015, it grew from 30 million users to 307 million users. That's a lot. It is proven in our daily news cycle that social media is a powerful tool as it can influence public opinion, lead to the dissolution of businesses or tarnish brands, whether business or personal, and even influence political elections. However, for this case, we will focus on education. Some educators view social media as a tool, while others see it as a distraction. Many institutions even have policies within the classroom that, describes how technology can be used in class, whether or not you can have your cell phone or iPads out. There are policies addressing those issues. However, research has found that Twitter in education is linked to student engagement and enhanced communication. However, there's mixed evidence on improved learning outcomes. This article focuses on an accounting course delivered to 150 junior or third year undergraduate students at an Australian university. At the beginning of the course, a Twitter account and hashtag were created, and students were given a guide to using Twitter for in-lecture activities. And those activities included a series of Twitter-based in-class quizzes for each lecture. Each quiz had about 3 to 4 questions, and students answered by tweeting their answers with the course hashtag. This study focuses on two primary questions. What encourages students to actively utilize social media in the learning process? And that looked at familiarity with Twitter, active participation, and usefulness of Twitter in learning. And this chart actually came from the study. And looking at the familiarity with Twitter is really interesting. The second question is, what pedagogical advantages are offered by social media in enhancing students' learning experiences? Out of the 150 students that were in the class, only 58 valid responses were given to the survey. And also, students were encouraged to live tweet questions during class, and that had an interesting effect also. The results of the student survey. As I mentioned, only 58 students were able to participate, or that was the number of valid survey results. And the results found that students are more likely to participate in lecture Twitter activities if they were familiar with the technology. Approximately half of the students were familiar with Twitter and had an actual Twitter account. 45% of the students had previously participated in Twitter-based lectures actively before. 26% participated somewhat, and 29% had never participated in Twitter-based lectures. The study also found that Twitter activities encourage students to participate in active learning. Students would view the lecture while face-to-face real time, and sometimes they would actually go back and watch the lecture online. And it also gave students who had scheduling conflicts or maybe had to work a chance to view the lecture online versus attending the class. The survey results also found that Twitter provides a platform enabling two-way student-instructor communication. It kind of changes the dynamic within the classroom. Students found that they had a voice, they were able to ask questions. However, some students did not actually participate in that part. The findings found that most of the tweets that used that course hashtag were only the answers to the quizzes. Students also found that Twitter activities were helpful regardless of whether they attended the lecture in real time or viewed the online lecture recordings, and I went over that previously. Students' responses show that Twitter-related activities make the lecture more interesting and also help them stay focused. And it actually provokes students to think about what they learned in real time. That's a novel idea, right? Now, every survey, every research has its own limitations. And the limitations were that it created distractions. We all know we we pick up our phone to check an email or post something important, and before you know it, you've lost an hour of time watching people pass out riding the slingshot ride. Or at least that's what I do. But students also found that they would open Twitter to answer the quizzes, and then they would go down that rabbit hole and open other apps. And when they realized it, they had missed the complete next section and they were lost. It's also a time constraint. You know how it takes time. You have to pull it out. You have to find the app, post the question, and it does create a time constraint. And there's also the potential of out of control student behavior. The instructor can't control what a student posts, but the students were not required to actually follow the Twitter account so they could answer the questions without having their own personal accounts exposed. So that was a plus. And the study also excludes other social media platforms. It only looks at Twitter. It did not look at the impacts of Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or any of those other social media platforms. And it's a constrained setting. This survey or this study focused on one accounting class with 150 students who were generally juniors or third year students. So by the time you're in your third year, you should already have a sense of familiarity with technology because you've been using it and building on it for each year you've been within the institution. So the results could have been drastically different if this was tested on, let's say, an incoming freshman class. And of course, further research is needed. This is still a developing subject, and I can say that for me, I can see the benefits of utilizing social media within the classroom setting as long as you provide the guidance and training necessary. Personally, coming from the community college background, I know that if I wanted to implement something of this nature within one of my classrooms, then I would have to make sure that the first week or so is fully dedicated to making sure that all of the students have the app downloaded, that they know how to set up their account, how to tweet, how to retweet, how to like, all of it. Because within the community college, you might have a student who scored a 34 on the ACT in the same classroom with the student who scored a 12. You might have a student who just graduated from high school as well as a student who has been out of high school for 30 years and are just now coming back because their kids have graduated and they're empty nesters, and it's time for them to focus on themselves. So I can definitely see the benefits, but I can also see the distractions and limitations as well. I really enjoyed this subject, and I look forward to learning more and hearing your feedback. Thank you.